This morning, I checked my bank balance online for $150,000. Then my phone buzzed with a text that chilled me to the bone. "Thanks for the house and car, Mom." I forced a smile. My daughter had no clue whose credit card she'd used. I'm Charlotte, 67 years old, and I thought I'd seen it all. But nothing hit me harder than learning my daughter stole nearly $500,000 from me while I slept. I adopted Rebecca, whose birth name was Diana, when she was 3, after her parents died in a car crash. I gave her my all, my youth, my marriage, my dreams. When I got home from the bank that morning, Rebecca and her husband, Kevin, were in the living room. Their smug grins turned my stomach, like they'd just won a prize at my expense. "Mom, we've got news," Rebecca said, twirling keys to a shiny new car. "We bought a house, a gorgeous one with a yard and 3 bedrooms. It was her lifelong dream." "Where'd you get the money?" I asked, already knowing the truth. My voice stayed steady. "Too steady?" Kevin coughed. "We used your card. Jess said it was savings for us, for our future. You worked hard, so we thought you'd want to help us out." So calculated, so slick. Rebecca had been siphoning small amounts from me for months, thinking I wouldn't notice. This time, she went big, $450,000 in one swoop. "Rebecca," I said, "do you know which account you took that from?" She shrugged. "Your savings, Mom. The one you've always had, for the house, groceries, everything." Her laugh cut me deep. "I had no idea you were sitting on that kind of cash. You're always moaning about scraping by." "Yeah," Kevin chimed in. "Jess said you were barely surviving on your pension, hardly enough for food. Turns out you're loaded and kept it from us." "Why lie?" I stood there, silent, staring at these two, so cocky, so proud of their scam. They had no idea what they'd done or who I really was. I'd kept my professional life hidden for years. Rebecca thought I was just an old lady cleaning offices. I never told her about my properties, my investments, or the logistics company I built from scratch. "Is it okay to steal from your mom?" I asked. Rebecca stood, defensive. "It's not stealing. It's mine by right. I grew up in this rundown house, wearing used clothes, acting poor while you hid all that money. Everything you've put up with?" I echoed. "Like when I worked 3 jobs for your college tuition? Or sold my car for that green prom dress you had to have? Or mortgaged this house for your wedding?" Kevin muttered, "That's different. That's what moms do." My obligation? As if being her mom meant being her bank. As if adopting her, loving her, raising her was a debt I'd owe forever. Rebecca stepped closer, her eyes glinting with a cruelty she'd mastered hiding. "Mom, it's done. The house and car are ours. You can't undo it. And honestly, after your Poverty Act all these years, we deserve this." "Poverty Act?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, arms crossed. "Always whining about no money, how tough life was, how hard you worked. But you had $500,000 just sitting there. Do you know how humiliating it was, thinking we were broke? How I dreaded having friends over because we had nothing." Kevin nodded. "Rebecca suffered because of you, always feeling less than others. Now she's got what she deserves. What she deserves, after stealing, lying, treating me like a hurdle to their perfect life." "Fine," I said. "Enjoy the house. Enjoy the car." Rebecca blinked, caught off guard. "What? No scene?" "Nope," I smiled. "I hope it's worth it." And it was true. They didn't know the account they'd drained wasn't my personal savings. It was my company's operating account, audited monthly, insured, protected, and definitely not theirs. By tomorrow, they'd be begging at my door. But this time, I wouldn't open it. That night, sleep escaped me, not from grief, but from the fury scorching my insides. I lay awake, replaying every sacrifice I made for Rebecca, every time I put her first, every time I bit my tongue to give her what she wanted. When I adopted her, she was a frightened toddler, crying every night. I vowed she'd never want for anything. I kept that vow, cleaning offices by day, studying accounting by night. When I started my logistics company, I hid it to give Rebecca a normal childhood, free from the weight of my wealth. What a fool I was. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Arthur, my lawyer and accountant, his voice tight. "Charlotte, we've got a problem. Someone took $450,000 from the Translogistics account. The bank flagged it as unusual and needs authorization for the report." "I know, Arthur. It was my daughter." Silence. Then a heavy sigh. "Charlotte, that's a business account. Unauthorized withdrawals are embezzlement, a federal crime." "I know," I said calmly. "What's next?" "Charlotte, come to my office to document everything," Arthur said. "Then, tell me, do we go legal, or try to recover the money quietly?" I paused. Rebecca was my daughter, the child I'd loved fiercely for 24 years. But her smug smile, her cruel words, the way she treated me like trash flooded back. "Go legal," I said. "Rebecca needs to learn actions have consequences." Driving to Arthur's office, I passed Rebecca's new neighborhood. It was upscale, with grand houses and pristine lawns. Her house, bought with my stolen money, was stunning, white exterior, huge windows, a red sports car in the driveway. I stopped and stared. Rebecca watered flowers in a new yellow dress and pricey shoes, her face smug. Kevin hugged her from behind, beer in hand, both laughing. They glowed with pride over their life built on my sacrifice. I hit the gas and left. At Arthur's office, we reviewed the records. The theft began 6 months ago, small sums, $1,000, $2,000. Then Rebecca got bold, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, until the $450,000 hit. "How'd she access the account?" Arthur asked. "I gave her a card for emergencies in college," I said, feeling foolish. I checked statements, but the small amount seemed legit. "Charlotte, she took $580,000 total," Arthur said, showing the documents. "Not just the $450,000. She's been stealing systematically $580,000, nearly all my company's operating funds, money for salaries, suppliers, expenses. Rebecca didn't just rob me, she hurt my employees and their families." "What's next?" I asked. "We file today. The bank freezes the card. Since she bought a house and car, we can seize both as evidence." "How long?" "If all goes well, court orders by tomorrow afternoon. Rebecca's about to learn she hit the wrong account." That night, I couldn't face home, where Rebecca might gloat over her theft. I checked into the Emperor Hotel, the city's finest, booking the presidential suite. If I was planning my next move, I'd do it in style. From my window, I saw the city's lights, the life I'd built while Rebecca thought I was just a broke cleaning lady. My phone rang. It was Rebecca. "Mom, where are you?" "I came to show you house pictures, but you're gone." "I'm busy," I said. "Busy with what?" "Cleaning offices late?" She laughed. "Mom, you don't need to work so hard now we know you've got cash saved." "Rebecca, where do you think that money came from?" I asked. Silence. Then, defensively, "I didn't steal. I used what's mine, money you hid from me forever." "What if it wasn't mine?" "What? What if you committed a federal crime?" Her laugh was shaky. "Mom, stop being dramatic. It's your money, your card. No crime." "You'll see tomorrow," I said and hung up. Next morning, Arthur called early. "We've got the orders. Agents are heading to the house and impounding the car." Rebecca gets a court summons soon. What'll happen to her? If she cooperates, maybe 5 to 10 years for embezzlement and fraud, plus full repayment with penalties. 5 to 10 years. My daughter could be locked up for a decade. Pain stabbed me briefly. Then I recalled her words, "It's your obligation as a mother." I remembered her cruelty, her justification, her joy in my ruin. She chose this path. Now she'd walk it. By 11 a.m., my phone exploded. Rebecca, Kevin, strangers. I ignored the calls but read the texts flooding in. "Mom, pick up." "What did you do?" "They took our car." "Mom, I'm desperate, call me." "You're a horrible mother." "Mom, I'm sorry, let's fix this." Each text grew more frantic. Rebecca finally saw she'd robbed the wrong account, underestimated me, and played with fire. But I wasn't done. At 2 p.m., I did something rare. I went shopping at the city's ritziest mall, where Rebecca always dreamed of going but couldn't afford. I picked out a sleek black dress, Italian shoes, and a handbag worth more than her 3-month salary. The saleswoman saw my platinum card and beamed. "Ma'am, want to see our private collection?" "Sure," I said. I'm celebrating. As I tried on clothes pricier than Rebecca's stolen car, my phone kept buzzing. I turned it off. I needed calm to plan my next step. Leaving the mall, transformed and powerful, I drove to the real estate office where Rebecca bought her house, a top agency where I'd purchased 3 properties myself. I strode into the real estate office, my new look turning heads, and asked for the agent who handled Rebecca's sale. Cody, a young, eager guy, welcomed me. "How can I help, ma'am?" he said, clearly impressed. "You sold a house in Willow Creek to Rebecca Williams." "I'm her mother." Cody grinned. "Yes, a great sale. Your daughter and son-in-law love their new home. Paid in full, nearly $500,000. Smooth deal." "I bet," I said coolly. "Did they say where the money came from?" "They mentioned a family inheritance," Cody replied. "Your daughter said you saved for years to help them start their life." He beamed, proud of the heartwarming deal. "Interesting," I said softly. "What happens when the bank tells you the money was stolen?" Cody's face went white. "What?" "The money for that house came from my company account, stolen. The sale's void, and the house will be seized for a federal crime." Cody stammered, but they had all the paperwork. "The transfer went through fine." "Of course." "It was my money," I said, standing. "They just didn't have permission. Your agency handled stolen funds. Hope your legal team's ready." I left Cody pale, already calling his bosses. Next, I hit the luxury car dealership where Rebecca bought her car. I'd never been, but my clients raved about it. Jean, the manager, spotted me. "Mrs. Miller. Here for that Mercedes I pitched last year?" "No, Jean. I'm here about the red BMW you sold my daughter, Rebecca Williams, yesterday." "Oh, yes." Lovely girl, thrilled with her $65,000 purchase. "Said it was a gift from her successful mom," Jean said, smiling. "Glad you told your family about your company. Odd you kept it quiet." "Family secrets surfaced strangely," I replied. "Problem is, she stole that money from my business account." Jean's smile vanished. "You mean, your dealership sold a car with stolen funds?" "It's getting impounded today. Keep your paperwork handy for the investigation." Jean shot up. "Mrs. Miller, we had no clue. The deal seemed legit, ID, clean transfer." "I know, Jean. You're not to blame, but you'll need to help the authorities get that car back." As I left, Jean was already on the phone, likely with his lawyers. Rebecca didn't just wreck her life, she dragged everyone who touched her stolen money into her mess. My phone, now on, showed 53 missed calls and 26 texts. Rebecca was frantic. Her messages shifted from anger to begging, "Mom, pick up. I need to explain. It was a mistake. I didn't know it was a company account. Lawyers say I could go to jail. Mom, please help. I'll pay it back. Don't ruin my life. I'm your daughter." Then Kevin texted, "Mrs. Miller, we need to talk. Rebecca's having a panic attack. Lawyers say it's serious. Can we settle this as family? No trial." A panic attack? After 24 years of treating me like her servant, stealing $500,000, and gloating, now she was panicking over consequences. I replied, "Kevin, you should have thought of consequences before stealing. No family deals now." He shot back, "Please, ma'am. Rebecca thought it was your personal money. An honest mistake." Honest? Stealing $580,000 over 6 months? Kevin, an honest mistake is grabbing the wrong card for groceries. Stealing $500,000 for a house is planned. She knew what she was doing. But she's your daughter, your adopted daughter. How can you send her to jail? There it was, the adoption card, meant to sting, as if I had less right to expect respect because she wasn't biological. Kevin, because I chose her, because I gave her my life, her betrayal cuts deeper. A biological kid might mess up by mistake. An adopted one who steals drives a knife through your heart. No response. That night, from my hotel suite, I called Arthur for an update. "Seizure orders are done," he said. "House is sealed, cars impounded." Rebecca and Kevin left with just a suitcase. Where are they? In a cheap motel outside town. Rebecca's got a public defender. Hearings in 2 days. What's her odds? Charlotte, with our evidence, prison's almost certain unless you drop charges for a private settlement. And if I don't? 5 to 10 years in federal prison, plus full repayment, fines, and interest. Her life's done as she knows it. 5 to 10 years. My daughter, the toddler I raised from age 3, could face a decade in prison for stealing from me. Did it hurt? Yes, it tore me apart. But her cruel words, her treating me like garbage, her gloating over ruining my life hurt just as much. "Arthur," I said, "keep going. Rebecca needs to learn actions have consequences, and I need to stop shielding those who hurt me." The next day, my sister Susan called, catching me off guard. She lived far away and rarely reached out. "Charlotte," Rebecca called me sobbing. "Are you really sending her to jail?" "She stole $580,000 from my company, Susan." "I'm not sending her to jail, she did this to herself." "But she's your daughter," Susan pleaded. "You raised her from a baby. How can you be so heartless?" Heartless? I shot back. "Susan, do you know how often Rebecca called me a burden? How she made me feel I owed her just for existing. She stole from me, bragged about it, and now I'm the villain because she faces consequences? You could drop the charges, forgive her. And then what? She steals again in 6 months? Keeps treating me like trash because she knows I'll let it slide?" My voice cracked, not from sorrow but from years of pent-up anger. "Susan, I gave her everything for 24 years. I gave up kids, remarriage, worked endlessly for her. She repaid me with theft and humiliation. I'm done." I hung up, feeling both relief and pain. It was the first time I'd voiced all I'd sacrificed for a daughter who never cared. An hour later, Rebecca texted, her tone new, desperate, "Mom, I know you're furious, and you should be. I was wrong. Please don't let this ruin our family. I'll repay every cent, work for years if needed. But don't send me to jail, I won't survive. I'm begging as your daughter, the girl you raised, give me a chance to fix this." For the first time, Rebecca seemed truly sorry, no blame, no excuses, just regret. My heart wavered. Could we fix this? Had she learned? Maybe. Then I saw her smug smile, her joy in outsmarting me, her cruel words, her contempt. More importantly, this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act. She'd stolen for 6 months, planned the big theft, calculated exactly what to take for the house and car. It was deliberate, cold, cruel. I texted back, "Rebecca, if you were truly sorry, you wouldn't have stolen. If you loved me, you wouldn't have celebrated hurting me. Your regret came only when consequences hit. That's not remorse, it's fear." Her reply came fast, "Mom, please, I'm young. I messed up. Everyone deserves another chance. Rebecca, you had 28 chances over 6 months. Each time you used my card, you could have stopped. Each time you saw the money, you could have returned it. Each lie was a chance to confess. You used every chance to take more." That afternoon, I did something long overdue. I visited my parents' graves. It had been 3 years, work, Rebecca's needs, no time. I sat by their headstones and cried, not for her, but for me. For the years I lost being the perfect mom to a daughter who saw me as nothing, for the happiness I gave up for someone who viewed me as an obstacle. "Mom, Dad," I said aloud, "I got it wrong. You taught me to love, give, sacrifice for family, but not when to stop. You never said love without respect is abuse, or giving without limits destroys you." The wind stirred the leaves, and I felt them listening. "Rebecca's going to jail. You'd tell me to forgive her, that family matters most. But you'd never have stolen from me, never treated me with her contempt, never celebrated my pain." I stayed until sunset, feeling lighter, like I'd left a burden by their graves. That night, Arthur called from my hotel suite. "Rebecca's lawyer wants a plea deal, guilty plea for a reduced sentence and repayment plan." "What's reduced mean?" 2 years in prison instead of 5 to 10, plus 5 years probation to repay everything. 2 years. My daughter in prison for 2 years. If we reject it? Trial, likely 5 to 10 years, no early parole. What's your advice? "Legally, the deal's fair," Arthur said. "You'd get full repayment, and Rebecca learns a hard lesson without being ruined. At trial, a jury might pity her and lighten the charges, but they could also hit her with the maximum." "How long do I have?" I asked. "Until tomorrow afternoon." That night, sleep wouldn't come, not from guilt, but because I faced the biggest choice of my life. It would shape Rebecca's future and mine. For years, I was the mom who forgave everything, took every hurt to keep peace, and sacrificed myself to destruction for love. But that love was never returned. Those sacrifices went unvalued. Rebecca showed me that unreturned love becomes accepted abuse, that forgiving without consequences is cowardice, not kindness, and that being a good mom doesn't mean letting your daughter ruin you. At 3 a.m., I decided. I texted Arthur, "No deal. We're going to trial. Rebecca must face her actions' full weight, and I need to value myself as much as I've valued others." The next day, Rebecca would see I chose justice over her emotional ploys, respect over fear of conflict, and protecting myself over saving her. For the first time in 24 years, I chose me. The trial came fast. For 2 weeks, Rebecca tried everything: letters, calls from relatives, even showing up at my translogistics office. That visit was eye-opening. She and Kevin arrived in black, looking like victims at a funeral. My assistant, Brenda, warned me, "Mrs. Miller, a young woman claiming to be your daughter is here, upset, demanding to see you." "Let her in," I said. It was time she saw the real me. They stepped into my office, panoramic views, mahogany desk, original art. Rebecca froze, eyes darting over my computer, diplomas, photos with city leaders. "This is yours?" she whispered. "Yes, Rebecca. This is Translogistics, the company I built over 15 years while you thought I was a broke cleaning lady." Kevin was stunned. "Mrs. Miller, we didn't know you had, what, Kevin? Success?" Money? Worth beyond being Rebecca's servant? I sat at my desk, feeling strong. I let you see me as the poor mom. But you're the poor ones, lacking spirit, values, gratitude. Rebecca neared my desk, tears in her eyes. Mom, I didn't know. If I'd known you were this successful, I wouldn't have what? Stolen? Or treated me like trash? I stood, facing the window. The issue isn't you not knowing my wealth. It's that you thought stealing from me was okay, rich or not. Mom, I get it now. I was so wrong. I can change, be the daughter you deserve. I faced her. Rebecca, when I was young, I learned from my mistakes and changed. You only change when consequences force you. That's not true, Kevin cut in. Rebecca's sorry. We've talked, she knows she was wrong. Kevin, she had 24 years to treat me right, to value my sacrifices, to show respect. Her regret only came when jail loomed, not before. Rebecca dropped to her knees by my desk. Mom, I'm begging. I'm your daughter, the girl you adopted and loved. You can't send me to jail. You can't ruin my life. Get up, Rebecca. No more emotional games, I said, voice icy. I'm not ruining your life. You did that by stealing. I'm just not helping you destroy yourself. But you chose me, Mom. You said you loved me like your own. And I did, Rebecca. But love has limits. It doesn't mean letting you hurt me forever. Real love means consequences for bad choices. Kevin jumped in. Mrs. Miller, we get your pain, but she's family. Family forgives, supports. Kevin, I was the only one forgiving, sacrificing, supporting. Rebecca never forgave my mistakes, never supported me, never sacrificed. This family was a one-way street, I gave, she took. Rebecca stood, her face shifting to anger. Fine, Mom. Maybe I wasn't perfect. But you weren't either, always working, stressing about money, never there emotionally. There she was, the real Rebecca, blaming me when begging failed. Rebecca, I worked to give you everything. And emotionally? How many times did I ask about your day, and you ignored me? Tried to hug you, and you pushed me away? Wanted real talks, and you were too busy? That's different. No, it's the same. I kept trying when you rejected me. But when I needed support, you were never there. Kevin grabbed Rebecca's arm. Let's go, honey. She's set on ruining you. We're done here. Kevin, I called as they reached the door, one last thing. Rebecca didn't hide my company to protect me or give me a normal childhood. She hid me because she was ashamed, preferring the poor victim role over being the daughter of a successful entrepreneur. Rebecca spun around. That's not true. Isn't it? Then why, at your rich friends' birthday parties, did you say I couldn't come because I was cleaning offices? You never invited me, ashamed of your adoptive mom, the poor cleaning lady. She stayed silent, knowing I was right. Leave my office, Rebecca. Next time, see me in court. They left without a word. That afternoon, Arthur called to confirm trial details. Charlotte, one last time, are you sure? Once the trial starts, there's no turning back. Rebecca faces the full sentence. I'm sure, Arthur. For the first time in years, I'm certain. Okay. Trial's tomorrow at 9 a.m. The prosecutor's confident. With our evidence, Rebecca's almost guaranteed prison. How long? 5 to 8 years, plus full repayment. Her public defender's young, inexperienced, with little to work with. 5 to 8 years. My daughter would lose 5 to 8 years to prison for stealing from me. That night, I lay awake, thinking of the scared 3-year-old I adopted, so vulnerable after losing her parents. How did she become a woman who thought she could rob and humiliate me? When did I lose her? When did she see me as the enemy, not her ally? Maybe I messed up from the start. I was too soft, too sacrificial, too quick to forgive. Did I raise a narcissist by never setting firm boundaries? But the past was done. I could only shape the future. And my future wouldn't include letting anyone, even someone I loved, treat me like Rebecca did. At 6 a.m., I got ready for the trial. I picked a simple black suit, my pearl necklace, and comfy shoes. It'd be a long day. At the courthouse, reporters swarmed. My story, a businesswoman sending her adopted daughter to jail, had gone viral. "Mrs. Miller, how do you feel putting your daughter in prison?" one shouted. I faced her. "I feel like a mom who finally taught her daughter actions have consequences, something I should have done years ago." I walked inside, ready to end this chapter. The courtroom buzzed with family, onlookers, and reporters turning our pain into a spectacle. Rebecca sat at the defense table in a borrowed gray suit, looking small, fragile, not the smug woman who gloated over stealing from me. Our eyes met for the first time in weeks. I saw real fear in hers, not the fake kind she used to manipulate, but true dread of what was coming. For a moment, my heart softened. Then I recalled her smirk and "Thanks for the house and car, Mom." My heart turned to stone. The prosecutor, Mr. Davis, laid out the case like a surgeon, every transaction, withdrawal, and like carefully documented. The evidence was crushing: $580,000 stolen over 6 months from my business account, which Rebecca only had for emergencies. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. Davis began, "this isn't a desperate daughter taking money for a family crisis. It's a calculated, cruel theft by a woman who robbed her adoptive mother's company, endangering not just Mrs. Miller's assets but the livelihoods of 20 families at Translogistics." Rebecca bowed her head when he mentioned my employees. She'd likely never thought her theft hurt others beyond me. Her public defender, a shaky young man, tried to cast her as a victim. He spoke of her orphan childhood, believing I was a struggling low-income worker. "My client," he said, voice trembling, "thought her mother was barely scraping by. When she found money, she believed it was saved for her future. It was a weak defense, and everyone knew it. Even if she believed that, it didn't explain stealing in secret, lying about expenses, or gloating over deceiving me." Arthur, my accountant and lawyer, testified first, presenting financial records with precision, every number, date, and unauthorized transaction. His testimony left no doubt: Rebecca stole systematically for months. Then Brenda, my assistant, took the stand. She described Rebecca's office visits, seeing the company's wealth but never asking about my work. "Miss Williams always seemed uneasy here," Brenda said. "Mrs. Miller tried talking about the business, but Rebecca would dodge or leave." The hardest witnesses were my employees. One by one, they shared how Rebecca's theft threatened their jobs. When the account was nearly drained, Rosalia, my HR manager, said, "We couldn't pay staff on time. We took an emergency loan." Some thought the company was collapsing and started job hunting. Rebecca kept her head down, finally grasping her innocent mistake harmed real people. I took the stand, carrying 24 years of motherhood's weight. Mr. Davis led me through my story with Rebecca, her adoption, my sacrifices, hiding my business to give her a normal life. "Mrs. Miller, why keep your company secret?" he asked. "I wanted Rebecca to grow up without pressure," I said. "I didn't want her feeling forced to follow my path or chased for my money. I wanted her to build her own identity and values." "How did she react when you mentioned your company?" "She changed the topic, act bored or uneasy. I stopped bringing it up because she didn't care." "When did you know she was stealing?" "Small withdrawals seemed legit at first, she had my card for emergencies. But the $450,000 hit, paired with her text thanking me for the house and car, showed she'd been stealing for months." "How did that feel?" I paused as the courtroom hushed. Betrayed, deeper than I thought possible. Not just the money, but her gloating. She was proud of fooling her poor mom. That night, I realized I'd lived with a stranger who saw me as a barrier, not the mom who gave her everything. Did you consider dropping the charges? Yes, 4 days. I love Rebecca, my adopted daughter, but I knew without consequences, she'd never stop. She had to learn stealing's wrong, no matter who or why. The defense attorney cross-examined, painting me as cruel. Mrs. Miller, are you jailing your adopted daughter for revenge? No, I said calmly. I'm letting justice work. Rebecca broke the law. My job isn't to shield her from consequences but to teach her better choices. Don't you feel responsible for her actions, for how you raised her? That stunned, the question I'd wrestled with. Yes, I admitted. I was too lenient, didn't set clear boundaries. My endless love let her disrespect me without consequences. A stricter mom might have taught her stronger values. Shouldn't you give her one last chance without prison? She had chances, 6 months of small thefts, the $450,000 grab, gloating over deceiving me. Chances end when they're used to hurt you more. Stepping down, I saw Rebecca's teary eyes, not manipulative but truly aware of who I was and what she'd lost. The trial took 3 days. The jury deliberated 2 hours, guilty of embezzlement, fraud, unauthorized financial use. Rebecca crumpled at the verdict. Kevin fled the room. Sentencing was set for next week, likely 5 to 8 years. As I left, Rebecca shouted, "Mom, forgive me. Please." I paused at the door, turning back. I forgive you, Rebecca. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. It frees me from resentment while you learn from your mistakes. I walked out, feeling I'd finally done right as a mom. Sentencing day came, the courtroom packed, my story now a media frenzy. Clips of my words spread online with headlines like "Businesswoman Mom Jails Daughter for Theft" and "Family Betrayals Cost." Rebecca looked worn, dull hair, dark circles, thinner after a week in county jail. Gone was the smug woman who celebrated stealing. The judge, stern but fair, spoke. "Miss Williams, your $580,000 theft over 6 months shows planning and escalation." Rebecca shook. "But," he continued, "you're a first-time offender, showing remorse, and this was against family, hinting at emotional issues, not just crime." My heart raced. Was he leaning lenient? For embezzlement and fraud, I sentenced Diana Williams to 6 years in prison, with parole possible after 4 for good behavior. "You'll repay $580,000 plus interest and costs, totaling $720,000. Rebecca sobbed, her attorney propping her up. "Also," the judge said, "during parole, you're barred from contacting Mrs. Charlotte Miller without court approval for 10 years. A decade without my daughter contacting me. No calls, visits, or presents." The judge looked at Rebecca. "Miss Williams, anything to say before we close?" She stood, trembling, leaning on the table, her voice a whisper caught by the microphone. "Yes, Your Honor. I want to apologize to my mom publicly. Charlotte adopted me, an orphan, and gave me everything, her time, money, love, dreams. I repaid her with cruelty and ingratitude." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I treated her like a servant, like she owed me just for being there. I never valued her sacrifices or respected her love. When I found her money, I stole it and bragged about fooling her." The courtroom went silent, reporters penned still. "Mom," she faced me, "I know it's too late. I ruined us forever, but I see now all you did for me. You weren't my enemy, you were my biggest protector. I was too blind, too cruel to see it." Her voice broke. "I'd change everything if I could, respect you, value your sacrifices, love you like you loved me. But it's too late. I just hope someday, after prison, you'll find a small space to forgive the daughter who failed you." She sat, sobbing quietly. The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Miller, any statement?" I stood slowly, ready for this moment I'd rehearsed for weeks. Your Honor, for 24 years, I forgave everything, took every hurt, sacrificed all to keep family peace. I thought unconditional love meant no limits, no consequences, letting any behavior slide to keep her. I looked at Rebecca. But that's not love, it's codependency dressed as kindness, fear posing as generosity. I let Rebecca disrespect me, scared of losing her love. But respect lost without consequences can't become real love. My voice steadied. Rebecca, I love you, always will. You're my chosen daughter from age 3. But loving you doesn't mean letting you ruin me. It means doing the tough thing, setting boundaries, even if it hurts. I steadied my emotions. I accept your apology. I believe you see what you've lost. But apologies don't undo actions. Remorse doesn't erase consequences. You're going to prison not because I'm cruel, but because choices have outcomes, and you chose this path. Rebecca wept silently as I spoke. I hope prison makes you the woman you could be, one who values those who love her, sees gratitude as strength, knows respect builds real bonds. I took a deep breath. When you're out, if you've truly changed, if you've learned these values, maybe we can rebuild something based on mutual respect, not my fear of losing you or your belief you can hurt me without consequence. I sat, feeling a chapter close. The judge's gavel fell. Court adjourned. Miss Williams transfers to federal prison in 2 weeks. Handcuffed, Rebecca gave me one last look, no manipulation, just sadness and, for the first time in years, real respect. Reporters swarmed as I left, shouting questions. I ignored them. I had work to do. I drove to Translogistics, a company to run, employees counting on me, a life to reclaim. Brenda hugged me. Mrs. Miller, we saw the news. You okay? I'm free, Brenda. Truly free for the first time in years. And I was. The weight of codependent motherhood was gone. No more tiptoeing around Rebecca's anger, justifying my life to someone who saw me as her enemy, or fearing I'd disappoint a daughter who never valued me. Rebecca would spend 4 to 6 years in prison. I'd spend that time rediscovering Charlotte, unshackled from an ungrateful daughter. My future felt bright for the first time in decades. 6 months later, my life transformed beyond imagination. Without Rebecca's drama, Translogistics soared, 3 new contracts, a team of 30, a second office in another city. But the real change was personal. I sold our old house, too big and full of painful memories, and bought a sleek penthouse downtown with stunning views and luxuries I denied myself for Rebecca's future. I started living for me, painting classes on Tuesdays, a long-delayed Europe trip, guilt-free dinners at upscale restaurants. I'd awakened from a 24-year dream where I was only Rebecca's mom. One Friday, reviewing reports, Brenda knocked. Mrs. Miller, someone's here, Kevin, your daughter's husband. My stomach nodded. What does he want? He says it's urgent, about Rebecca. I hesitated. The restraining order barred Rebecca, not Kevin, from contact. But I had no interest in him either. Let him in, I said finally. But stay nearby in case I need security. Kevin entered, a shadow of the cocky man who gloated over my stolen money. Thinner, with dark circles and worn clothes, the luxuries were gone. Mrs. Miller, thank you for seeing me, he said, voice shaky. What do you want, Kevin? I've got a company to run. It's Rebecca. She's struggling in prison, transferred 3 times for issues with inmates. She's losing weight, not sleeping, and the psychologists say she's severely depressed. What do you expect me to do? Visit her, talk to her. You're her only real family. I can't help her anymore. Why not? He looked down, ashamed. I filed for divorce last week. I can't stay married to someone in prison for theft. My family pushed me, friends ditched me, I lost my job. My life's ruined because of her. Funny. Kevin was fine being Rebecca's accomplice when she stole, but bolted when consequences hit. Kevin, does that feeling ring a bell? Someone who's supposed to love you abandoning you when things get hard? He stared, puzzled. For years, Rebecca abandoned me emotionally. When I needed support, faced problems, or felt alone, she was never there. But I never abandoned her. I didn't divorce being her mom, no matter how she treated me. It's different, ma'am. No, Kevin, it's the same. I loved her unconditionally despite her cruelty. You ditch her the moment things get tough. Who really loved her? He was speechless. Know what's interesting about your visit? I went on. You're not here because you love Rebecca. You're here because you feel guilty for ditching her, and you want me to fix the emotional mess you won't touch. No, ma'am, I care about her. If you cared, you wouldn't divorce her when she's at her lowest. You wouldn't expect me, the mom she robbed and humiliated, to clean up your emotional mess. I stood, facing the window. For 24 years, I fixed Rebecca's messes, forgave her, gave endless chances, stayed no matter how she hurt me. Know what I learned? What? Always forgiving makes you the one always hurt. No boundaries make you the one everyone walks over. Always rescuing stops others from growing. But she's suffering, ma'am. Yes, Kevin. That suffering is what she needs to grow. If I comfort her now, I'd rob her of that chance. Kevin looked desperate. She's your daughter, your adopted daughter. Exactly. I chose to love her at 3, so I owe it to her to help her become better. Sometimes, that means letting her face consequences, even if it breaks my heart to see her suffer. So, you won't visit or talk to her? The restraining order bars contact for 10 years. Even without it, I wouldn't go. She needs this time to reflect, build empathy, value those who love her. If I rescue her now, I'd waste her chance to grow. Frustrated, Kevin headed out. One last thing, I called. When someone abandons you in tough times, remember this. Maybe you'll get what I endured with Rebecca for 24 years. He left silently. That night, I cried for Rebecca, not from guilt, but for our lost bond, the years I spent chasing her love, the woman she could have been with better values. But I also cried with relief, free from a toxic relationship, brave enough to put myself first, done with the cycle of emotional abuse that defined my motherhood. After crying, I felt cleansed, like I'd shed the last traces of guilt and codependency. The next day, I made a choice I'd delayed for months. I changed my name legally. No longer Charlotte Williams, tied to Rebecca's adoption, I became Charlotte Miller, entrepreneur, independent woman, whole on my own. Rebecca had 4 years left in prison to grow, reflect, become the woman she could be. I had a lifetime to embrace happiness. 4 years later, a letter arrived from Rebecca Williams, Federal Correctional Institution. She'd been paroled for good behavior, as the judge predicted. My life had transformed. Translogistics now had 3 offices, 50 employees. I wrote a bestseller, Love Without Limits, Why Setting Boundaries is the Greatest Act of Love, and spoke on toxic family dynamics. But the biggest change was personal. At 71, I lived unapologetically for me, vibrant social life, beloved hobbies, true peace. Rebecca's letter was unlike anything she'd ever sent. No begging, no manipulation, no excuses, just the words of a woman who'd grown. Dear Mom. The restraining order stops me from reaching out directly, but my parole officer worked hard to get permission for this letter. I'm not writing to beg for a reply, forgiveness, or a reunion. Those are gifts I haven't earned. I just need you to know what these past 4 years in prison have been for me, how they've reshaped me, and what I've come to understand about the pain I caused you. When I first arrived behind bars, the shock hit me like a tidal wave. It wasn't just the cold concrete walls, the clanging metal doors, or the loss of simple freedoms like choosing what to eat or when to sleep. The real brutality was being forced to sit with myself, my thoughts, my choices, my mistakes. There was no running away. No shopping sprees to drown out guilt, no parties to distract me, no one to charm into fixing my problems. For the first time, I was alone with the truth of what I'd done. For that first year, I clung to anger. I told myself you were the villain, a cruel mother who sent me to prison out of spite, who wanted to ruin me for revenge. I replayed our fights, your decision to press charges, and convinced myself you'd betrayed me. But then therapy began to crack that illusion. My therapist, Patricia, a woman with a sharp mind and a gentle way of cutting through lies, asked me a question that stopped me cold. When did you ever sacrifice something for your mom? I wrestled with that question for weeks. I dug through every memory of my adult life, searching for a single moment when I'd put your needs before mine, when I'd gone out of my way to make you happy, when I'd given up something, anything, for your sake. I came up empty. Not one instance. That realization shattered me. It was like staring into a mirror and seeing a stranger, a daughter who only took, never gave. I'd treated you like a resource to exploit, not a person to cherish. I'd mistaken your boundless love for weakness, your generosity for something I was owed, your sacrifices for foolishness I could manipulate. Year 2 brought a darkness I'd never known. Depression swallowed me, not because I felt like a victim, but because I finally saw what I'd thrown away. I didn't just lose my freedom, the house, or my marriage to Kevin. I lost you, the one person who'd loved me without condition, who'd poured her life into mine. I'd pushed you away with my cruelty, my ingratitude, my arrogance. Every night, I'd lie awake, haunted by the memory of your face when I bragged about the house and car, thinking I'd outsmarted you. The truth was, I'd outsmarted myself out of the only real love I'd ever had. By the 3rd year, I was ready to face myself. I signed up for every program I could: anger management, group therapy for white-collar criminals, empathy training. Those sessions were raw, like peeling back layers of lies I'd told myself. I started to see the ripple effects of my theft. It wasn't just about you. My actions had threatened the livelihoods of your employees, people with families, bills, dreams. I'd endangered an entire community that relied on translogistics. In group therapy, I met women like me, women whose mothers had always bailed them out, shielding them from consequences. We shared a common thread: we'd all mistaken permissive love for real love, and in doing so, we'd hurt the people who cared for us most. That realization stung, but it also lit a fire in me to change. Year 4 was a turning point. I started volunteering in programs for first-time offenders, sharing my story as a cautionary tale. I told them how a lack of boundaries and consequences had turned me into someone incapable of gratitude, empathy, or responsibility. I saw my own shock reflected in their eyes, the moment they recognized themselves in my mistakes. I also began journaling, not letters to you since that was forbidden, but a way to process who I'd been and the harm I'd caused. Page after page, I wrote about our relationship, about the moments I'd dismissed your love, about the pain I'd inflicted with every small theft, every lie, every smug smile. Writing became my lifeline, a way to make peace with the woman I'd been and to start building the woman I wanted to become. Now, I'm out. I live in a halfway house, a small room with thin walls and a shared bathroom. I work at a bakery, kneading dough at dawn for minimum wage. It's grueling, but honest. Every cent I don't need for basics goes toward the $720,000 I owe you in restitution. By my math, it'll take 15 years to pay back, maybe less if I land better jobs. The work is hard, but it feels right, each paycheck a small step toward making amends, even if they're just numbers on a ledger. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I haven't earned it, and I know the depth of the pain I caused. I'm not asking for another chance either. I burned through those with every swipe of your card, every lie I told. I'm writing because I need you to know that your choice to let me face consequences wasn't wasted. It saved me. I'm not the same person who celebrated stealing from you. I've learned that respect is shown through actions, not empty words. I've learned that gratitude is the bedrock of any real relationship. I've learned that love, true love, requires boundaries, responsibility, and growth from both sides. If you ever feel ready to meet this new version of me, I'd be forever grateful. I'd love to sit across from you, not as the entitled daughter I was, but as a woman who's learned to value what matters. But if the scars I left are too deep, if you need to guard the peace you've built, I'll understand. I've learned to respect your boundaries, even if it means staying out of your life. What I need you to know most is what I lost. Not a controlling mother, but one who loved me so fiercely she sacrificed her own happiness for decades. I lost a mom who worked tirelessly to give me chances I never appreciated, who saw me as her greatest treasure when I treated her as an obstacle. That loss is my greatest punishment, heavier than any prison sentence. The woman I am now would have been so proud to call you Mom. She would have cherished every sacrifice, honored every choice, treasured every moment we could have shared. I'm heartbroken I didn't become her sooner. I'm sorry I was too blind, too selfish, too cruel to see who you really were. Whatever you choose for our future, please know your love wasn't wasted. Your sacrifices weren't futile. The boundaries you set, the consequences you let me face, they turned me into the woman you always hoped I could be. I carry that lesson with me every day, in every choice I make, in every step I take toward being better. I love you, Mom, not as the manipulative daughter I was, but as the grateful woman I've become, thanks to your strength to do what was right, even when it broke your heart. You didn't just save yourself, you saved me, too. Your daughter, grown at last, Rebecca. I sat in my penthouse, the city lights twinkling beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, and read Rebecca's letter again. Tears came, not from sorrow or regret, but from a deep, unexpected relief. For the first time in 28 years, I heard the voice of the daughter I'd always dreamed of, one who saw my sacrifices, valued my love, and took responsibility without pointing fingers. Her words weren't a performance, they were raw, honest, real. I leaned back in my chair, the letter resting on my lap, and let the tears fall. They were tears of pride, too, pride for the woman Rebecca had become, pride for the courage it took to face her truth, pride for the strength she'd found in the ashes of her mistakes. But they were also tears for the years we'd lost, the bond we could have had, the love we could have shared if I'd set boundaries sooner, if she'd learned gratitude earlier. Could we rebuild something? Was her change real, lasting? Could I risk the peace I'd fought so hard to claim? I didn't know. The questions swirled in my mind, heavy but not crushing. For the first time since that chilling text about the house and car, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe my daughter, the one I'd chosen at 3, the one I'd poured my life into, had finally come home. I thought back to the trial, to the moment I chose justice over codependency. Sending Rebecca to prison wasn't revenge, it was the hardest act of love I'd ever done. I'd spent decades believing kindness meant absorbing every hurt, forgiving every slight, sacrificing myself to keep her close. But that wasn't love, it was fear, dressed up as generosity. Real love, I learned, demands boundaries. It requires consequences, not to punish, but to teach. It means saving yourself first, so you can help others grow. I don't regret her prison time. It gave her the space to confront herself, to rebuild from the ground up. My only regret is not seeing sooner that kindness shouldn't destroy me. That love without limits isn't love, it's a trap. That saving someone you cherish starts with saving yourself. Our story isn't over. I don't know if we'll ever sit across from each other, sharing coffee and stories, rebuilding what was broken. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust that her change is permanent or if I can open my heart without risking the peace I've found. But for the first time in decades, I believe there's a chance for a new chapter, written by 2 women who respect each other, not a desperate mother and an ungrateful daughter. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, not ready to decide but not closing the door either. Maybe it's never too late to learn how to love right. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to start again.